Hi, welcome to this week's study guide. We're in a series called The Screen Test, how to deal with social media, with technology, because it certainly is a big, huge part of our life. It's something that the Bible doesn't talk about specifically, but certainly there are principles in the Bible that help guide us through these types of things. And so today we're talking about one that is vitally important. We're calling it how to buy the truth, how to deal with the information overload that comes your way through media. Today, we are quite different than we were just a few years ago. A few years ago, you'd watch your news in the evening, you'd watch a half hour of local, a half hour of national, you'd pick up your paper in the morning and you'd read it or read it in the evening. Now we have 24/7 news, we have access to all kinds of information via the internet, and constantly we're receiving Twitter feeds, Facebook posts, Instagrams, and then, God help us, TikToks and everything else. And so we are overloaded with information, and the bottom line is a large part of it's not true. It's not only do we receive information that's not true, but too often we pass on information that's not true. And so today we want to look at some principles about how to deal with media, how to deal with the truth on media, and how we should make sure that we are paying attention to make sure that things are true. So here we go. We start with Proverbs chapter 23, and we're going to take it in context. We're looking at verse 23 of chapter 23, but in context, we have different little sayings that come in this Proverbs 23. And this saying all flows together. It begins in verse 22. Listen to your father who gave you life, and do not despise your mother when she is old. In other words, honor your mom and dad, because they are going to be telling you the truth. They're going to be giving you guidance, so you don't want to dishonor that. We go on, verse 23. Listen to this. Buy the truth and do not sell it. Wisdom, instruction, and insight as well. The father of a righteous child has great joy. A man who fathers a wise son rejoices in him. May your father and mother rejoice. May she who gave you birth be joyful. And so we come to our first question. What is it that every mother and father should want for their child? Go ahead and take a few moments and discuss that again based upon this verse. Well, here's what we want. We want our children to be wise. We want our children to be righteous. We want our children to be followers of the truth and not those who believe and spread lies. And so we should want our children to be righteous. Most of us want our children to be successful at hitting a baseball or being very intelligent or having a great job or finding the right spouse. But more than anything, a mother or father who really loves and cares for their child will want them to be righteous. And so in order to be right, they have to believe what is right, have to share what is right. So that takes us to the second part of our question today, and that is this. Question number 2, can you define truth? If we're going to buy the truth, then what is the truth? Take a few moments and see if you can figure that out. Well, according to Merriam-Webster, the truth is the body of real things, events, and facts. It is actuality, the state of being the case, that is, the fact. Often capitalized, it is a transcendent, fundamental, or spiritual reality. It is the body of true statements and propositions, the property of being in accord with fact or reality. That which lines up with reality is the truth. And we know that there are many things today that do not line up with the truth, especially on social media. Large studies talk about how people normally who would tell the truth because they are in a relationship with other people lie when they are anonymous on social media. We have a recent example. There are all kinds of images that are coming out, videos, etc., that show the Ukrainian army defeating the Russian army. We have found that many of those come from a video game. That somebody copied those from video games, put them on, and the world buys that and they share that, and it is just not the truth. And so we need to be those who are trying to find and discover the truth. And so the truth will set you free, says the scriptures. And so let's go to our third question. In what way is truth vital to being righteous? Again, we should want our children to be righteous. And so in what way is the truth vital to being righteous? Well, think about this for a moment. How can you be right if you believe what's wrong? How can you be right if you share what is wrong? Righteousness is being aligned up with the truth. It is being aligned up with God and His character. And the Bible says of God, He cannot lie. He is nothing but truth. Jesus says of Himself, I am the way, the truth, and the life. He's the truth. And so when we align ourselves with God, we are in line with the truth. And it's vitally important that if we're to be righteous, we need to be those who know the truth and those who speak the truth. That leads us to question number 4. What does it cost to acquire truth? And how does this relate to media? What does it cost to acquire truth? And how does this relate to media? Talk about that for a few moments. Notice in this passage it says buy the truth. It doesn't just say get the truth. It says buy it, which means it costs something. In order to make sure that you are getting the truth, you must make sure that you fact check, that you are checking your sources, that you are not believing things just simply because you want to believe them. You're not sharing things just simply because you want them to be true. Boy, this is really true in our political environment. We want to believe certain things, so we do believe certain things. And because something comes and strikes our fancy, we share it without checking it. Buying something means it costs. It costs your time, your energy, your effort, and it costs you being discerning. That means you need to pay attention and you need to think through, is this right? And so buy the truth means it should cost something. This is especially true when it comes to social media and media in general, because a lot of people are out there putting out things that are twisted, that meet their agenda, or they're half-truths. A half-truth is a whole lie. Don't buy it. That goes on to our next question. In what way does social media make it hard to buy the truth? As I mentioned earlier, there are lots of studies that show how a vast part of social media are untruths, and there's no way to check it. You see, when I was young, you got your news, so forth, from publications. If they did not tell the truth, they were excoriated. There were standards in journalism where somebody was caught not telling the truth, they would lose their position. They would be made fun of by other papers or TV news anchors. Here we see that there's so much information out there, it's impossible to check it all. We also see that the standard has become whatever you want to twist and turn, you can do that and nobody's going to say anything about it. And so be careful, because there's so much information, what we're calling the information overload. It's impossible to fact check everything. It's impossible to make sure that we're buying the truth. And that leads us to the new question. What does it mean to not sell the truth? What does it mean to not sell the truth? Well, to not sell the truth means to not let it go. That means we are making sure that we are not giving it away, that we're not allowing it to leave. Every time that we tell a lie, we're selling the truth. Every time that we promote something that we don't know is true, we're selling the truth. And so it kind of is a little confusing, but don't let it go. Don't let go of the truth by telling a lie or promoting a lie. So be careful. Be careful what you share. Be careful what you believe. Be careful what you tell. Double check everything, because the truth matters. Listen, James says, out of the same mouth should there flow blessings and cursings. My brethren, this ought not to be so. It's the same with what you say. You should not speak the truth of the gospel. The Bible tells us to speak the truth in love. We should not do that and at the same time allow things that are false to come out of our mouth. Buy the truth and do not sell it. That leads us to the last question. Are you careful about not receiving and transmitting falsehoods via the media? And how can we all improve in this area? Think about that for a moment. Are you careful? What are you doing to make sure that you are receiving, buying the truth, and not selling it? And how can we be better in this area? Take a moment and talk about that. As you do, God bless you. Thanks for joining me for this week's study guide. I pray that you would buy the truth and do not sell it. Proverbs 23:23.